Where are your favorite Buffalo Trace products going to fall on a tier list? Let's find out. What is going on, everybody? Nathan here with the Everyday Drinker, bringing you guys a brand new video. I have seen a couple of other channels do something very similar along the lines of where they do Buffalo Trace tier lists. Well, I myself want to get in onto the fun, and I want to stir the pot a little bit and see where your favorite Buffalo Trace products, in my opinion, fall in my opinion. Now, we have a couple of parameters that we have to follow, right? So, monetary value isn't a thing. These bottles are all based off their MSRP. We're not really thinking about secondary market for these bottles. Stagg Jr. is a $60-ish bottle. We don't care that it goes for $300 on the secondary market. Also, I have had to at least had a sample of this bottle before, whether it was at a restaurant or a sample sent to me. So I had to have at least had a flavor in my mouth of this bottle of bourbon. So with that said, we have 26 different bottles of Buffalo Trace offerings that we are going to put onto this tier list. I'm very excited for this one. I hope you guys are too. If you are, make sure you smash that like button. Leave a comment down below on if I made your heart hurt because I put your favorite bottle of Buffalo Trace offering in the D tier or the F tier. And if you enjoy the content, make sure you smash that subscribe button because at 5,000 subscribers, which is literally right around the corner, let's smash that subscribe button because some lucky subscriber is going to get their hands on a bottle of Blantons at 5K. Make sure you go check out the Patreon. $2 a month. You can help support me, the channel, everything we do here like you wouldn't believe. But before we get into the video, we do have to have a word from today's sponsor. Do you like good bourbon? Do you like supporting a good cause? Well, look no further than give270.org. I am partnering up once again with give270.org to give you all the opportunity to get your hands on some amazing, amazing bottles of bourbon. If you want your chance to win a flight that can help fill a flight, Give 270's latest Bourbon Strong is a 50 for 50 that will support the mission of Honor Flight Bluegrass. This will help fly our heroes to Washington, D.C. to visit their respective memorials and reflect upon their service, sacrifice, and memories. Now through September 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, go to give270.org to purchase your $50 ticket. Now, what can you win for this $50 ticket entry? Well, I'm going to let you know. You have the chance to win 47 different bottles of bourbon. If you win one or if you don't win one, don't fret because your ticket is being put back into the pot to win the jackpot. There are 3 different grand prize winners. The first grand prize winner is going to win their chance on the entire Pappy lineup. The second grand prize winner is going to win a set of the Woodford's Masters collection. And the third grand prize winner is going to win the entire Weller lineup. So do not wait. Go over to give270.org, purchase your ticket to get your chance to win some amazing bottles of bourbon and also support an amazing cause. Hope to see you guys over there. All right, so now that we are back, we are going to be pulling up the tier list. All right, here we go. So we have S, A, B, C, D, F tier, and you can see all the bottles of bourbon right there down below it. Now, I have had at least a sample of all of these bourbons or own all of these bourbons. So without further ado, we are going to get in the first one. I'm just going to randomly pick these bottles, and we're going to see where they land. Ancient Age. Now, this is a very interesting one. It's nothing very special. It's a $25 bottle or under. There's nothing very, very admirable about this bottle, right? So I'm just going to put it right in the C tier. There's nothing bad about this bottle, but there's nothing that is wowza about this bottle. So there's that one. All right, we are going to move into Benchmark. This is the Benchmark Full Proof because the Benchmark Single Barrel has its label. This is the Benchmark Full Proof. Now, this is a young bottle of bourbon. It's 125 proof. It's not bad, but it's not great. If you're looking for a really good high proof bottle of Buffalo Trace, you're going to look for something that's a little bit more aged than this one. And I think that with that said, it can fall in the D tier. But I think that after my first sip of the benchmark foolproof, and I let it sit for a little bit. It opened up a little bit for me, and I'm going to have to throw it into the C tier. Next up, we're going to move right here. This is the Buffalo Trace kosher wheat. Now, the kosher wheat, in my opinion, I thought was really, really good in the very beginning. And, well, it just wasn't my cup of tea. And I don't know why, right? Some people like it, some people don't. It's the same exact match bill as all the Weller products, but for some reason, it just doesn't have the same sweet quality that the Weller products do. And so for that, I'm throwing it into the D tier. Next up, we've got Benchmark Single Barrel, and you guys know how much I absolutely love this bottle of bourbon right here. For a one-note wonder, it's absolutely decadent for that sweetness that it brings. The price is not bad whatsoever, so for that, I'm throwing the Benchmark Single Barrel in the B tier. All right, let's move on to Eagle Rare. There are two bottles of Eagle Rare on here because there's Eagle Rare, just their traditional offering, and then you've got Eagle Rare store picks, in my opinion, are a different breed of bottle. So your Eagle Rare, right? It's a 90 proofer, 10 years old, absolutely delicious. But there are better bottles of Buffalo Trace out there, so I'm gonna have to throw it in the B tier. Absolutely wonderful, right? Nonetheless, absolutely wonderful. Blanton's straight from the barrel. Now, this bottle is really spicy. These Blantons straight from the barrels are packed full of that baking spice. I've had 2 samples of it, and both of them were spicy. But they had some sweetness to them as well. And for that, I think that for the proof, for the price, for this the flavor profile that these are packing, it's gonna go into the A tier list. All right, we are moving into the Buffalo Trace Kosher Rye. Now, this one was another one that I just was not a fan of whatsoever. Pardon me. And for that, I'm going to have to throw it into the D tier. We have our first D tier bottle of juice from Buffalo Trace going in right there. This one right here, you guys probably wouldn't be expecting to be in the Buffalo Trace tier list, but it is Buffalo Trace distillate, and so for that, I threw it into this. You can like it, you can not like it, but nonetheless, it's here. So this is the John J. Bowman single barrel, and it's 100 proof, and for me, it's absolutely wonderful. It's packed full of flavor. You can't go wrong with it. No burn going down. It's one of those smooth bottles we just talked about a couple of days ago. And for that, I think I'm going to have to throw it in the B tier. It's absolutely delicious for 100 proof. And I think you can get them for like 60 bucks. Can't go wrong with that whatsoever. All right, so next up here, I think we have the E.H. Taylor Rye. Now, the E.H. Taylor Rye, absolute. Right, we had the rye here. Is that the rye? No. Yep, that is the straight rye. That is the straight rye. My eyes are not working today for some reason, but we've got the straight rye here. Straight rye, 100 proof, bottle and bond, $70, $80 MSRP. Can't go wrong with that price. And you know, I like ryes. I really do, but it's something that I'm not the biggest fan of, but the E.H. Taylor Straight Rye, I am a big fan of that sweet orange that it brings. So for that, throw it in the B tier. All right, we've got Blantons Gold. And Blantons Gold, I have said it a couple of times, really might be the best Blanton's bottle on the market right now. It's not too spicy with the heat from the straight from the barrel, but it's packed full of more flavor than your traditional Blanton's offering at 103 proof. I think that that's where Blanton's regular should be, is at 103 proof, and this Blanton's Gold is sitting right there. It's also probably the most eye-catching Blanton's bottle, and so for that, I'm throwing it in the same exact tier as the straight from the barrel. All right, next up, we're going to go with Weller Special Reserve. Now, Weller Special Reserve, you guys know my opinions on it. I love my wheated bourbons, but this one just doesn't give me the same effect as everything else. 90 proof. You know, it would be a great bottle to mix with if you could find it regularly, but it's not one of those bottles you can find regularly, and for the MSRP price, So for that, it's just another one that's going into the D tier. Nothing that really stands out to it, but it's nothing that is just like, wow, you know. So D tier for the Weller Special Reserve. Buffalo Trace. Now, Buffalo Trace, I'm just going to throw right into the C tier. It's your quintessential bottle of bourbon. You know, it's sweet, it's got some spice, it's got the proof packed behind it. You can do absolutely anything with Buffalo Trace. There's nothing that's really good about it, there's nothing that's really bad about it, so it's going right smack them in the average bottle of bourbon. All right, we've got our E.H. Taylor, this is the E.H. Taylor barrel proof. The barrel proof. You guys know I'm throwing it right up into the S tier. It is my absolute favorite bottle of bourbon, packed full of deliciousness going into that bottle right there. You know, it's not the best bottle that you'll ever have, but if you're looking for something that is absolutely decadent, that barrel proof E.H. Taylor is the way to go. Next up, we're going to go with Blantons. And Blantons to me is, you know, I'm going to put it in the B tier. I'm going to throw it up a little bit above that Buffalo Trace because you are getting a very, a single barrel, a very cool looking bottle, something that is a little bit more elevated than your regular Buffalo Trace. We're not looking at secondary. We're not looking at hype. We're not looking at taterness on these. And I think Blanton's is just a little bit more elevated than your traditional Buffalo Trace offering. All right, so next up, we're going to go with Eagle Rare store pick. And I wish there was a B+, because this is definitely a B+, but I'm going to have to throw it in the B tier as well. They're a little bit better than, you know, I'm going to actually arrange these a little bit more. A little bit better. I'm going to put them in the order that I see fit in the tier. So you've got this. I'll put this here. I'll put this here. And I'll put that there. That's the tier list that I see fit for here. We'll move that over to here. We'll move this over to here. And then we'll move this to here. No, I want that swap. There we go. And then we'll do that. So that's the tier list. Now that I'm going to do that, you guys can see how I see them ranked from first to whatever place they are in the respective tier list. But Eagle Rare store picks are just a little bit elevated to me. They have a little bit more of a pronounced flavor, obviously because they are a single barrel. Every bottle is going to be different. But I've never had a single barrel Eagle Rare that I have disliked or thought was equivalent to a regular Eagle Rare offering. I just think that the store picks are just a little bit more elevated in my opinion. Next up, we have Buffalo Trace single barrels, and these are going to go in the B tier as well, but they're going to go in the last place in the B tier at the moment, only because, again, they have a different flavor profile than your regular Buffalo Trace. For store picks, always find a store that you find that their palate matches with yours, and you'll find store pick bottles that you absolutely love. And for me, I think that Buffalo Trace store picks are just a little bit notch above their regular offering. Next up, we've got E.H. Taylor Small Batch. This is going to be another bottle going in the B tier, but it's going to be in front of the Eagle Rare store picks. Small Batch is one of those bottles that is delicious. You just can't go wrong with it. It's a workhorse. It's a bottle that, you know, it's hard to find for some people, but once you find it, you know why that bottle is loved. All right, next up, we are going to move into George T Stagg. And I've had the George T Stagg, and I've had the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof now, and I think that my flavor profile fits the E.H. Taylor profile a little bit more. Even though they're the exact same mash bill, I like where the E.H. Taylors are aged, whatever warehouse they're at. And the George T Stagg, to me, had a little bit more of a cherry cola-ness to it. It was a little bit richer in those flavors, whereas the E.H. Taylor was a little bit more bright and sweet. And so the George T Stagg's going in the S tier where it rightfully belongs, But for me, it's going to fall a notch below the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. Next up, we are going to go into Sazerac Rye, and this is another one that's going to fall into the D tier, but it's going to go into the first place in the D tier. There's nothing wrong about this one, but there's nothing that stands out about this one. 90 proof bottle of rye. It just doesn't have the oomph behind it. I want a little bit more flavor, and this one isn't offering that, so that's why it's falling into the D tier. Next up, we're going to go with Weller Full Proof. This is going to be another A tier bottle. And I think that where it's sitting right there behind the Blanton straight from the barrel is a rightful place for it, right? It's an A-tier bottle. It's absolutely delicious. It's one of my absolute go-to weeders and when I'm in that mood for something a little bit higher proof and a Weller product, right? But for me, nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Next up, we're going to go with the Weller Antique 107. Now, this is a B tier bottle, and I think I'm going to put it behind the Eagle Rare Store Picks. Now, 107 proof, you think that you would absolutely find that to be the perfect proof point. I don't know what it is about it, but I always find that Weller Antique 107 drinks hotter than its proof, and I just get a bunch of spice going down that I'm just not the biggest fan of for that bottle. If I'm looking for that, I'm jumping up to the Weller Full Proof, and that one drinks absolutely perfectly. Next up, we are going to move into the E.H. Taylor Single Barrel, and I'm putting that in the A tier as well. It's a notch above the E.H. Taylor Small Batch for me, and a bigger notch above to be able to jump up into the A tier. These are just, for me, I've had a bottle myself and a sample sent to me, and the cherryness that comes out of these, the rich oak is so beautiful that it's, for me, bump it right up into that A tier. All right, next up we've got the, that's the Weller 12. Man, Weller 12, we're bumping that down. We're going to bump the Weller Special Reserve up in there. I can't see this that well. I'm sorry about that. You guys are probably yelling at the camera right now because you guys thought that I was thinking that was Weller Special Reserve. This is Weller Special. This is the Weller 12 here. Weller 12 for me, it's a really good bottle. Probably one of my go-to 90 proofers. You just can't go wrong with it whatsoever. And so for that, I am going to have to bump it up above the the Eagle Rare Store Pick, and it's going to be right behind the E.H. Taylor Small Batch. Next up, we've got three big daddies here. We've got Stagg Jr. Stagg Jr. to me is going to be the first place in A tier. Absolutely delicious bottle. Just can't be put into that S tier where its big daddy is, the George T Stagg. It's going to fall right below it, but same premise behind the George T Stagg. Spicy, sweet, cherry cola, everything that you're looking into a bottle of bourbon that's barrel proof, that's aged, that one right there is going to be there. But for me, it's just not at the same level as the E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof or the George T Stagg. Next up, we've got the Thomas H. Handy. Now, Thomas H. Handy is a rye. You guys would think I'm not the biggest rye fan, but I will tell you this right now. This is an S tier rye. Holy cow, is that one? It is probably one of the best noses that I've ever smelled in my life from a bottle of whiskey. And the palate followed it so beautifully that I wish I had a jug with a straw in it that I could just drink from for the rest of my life, because that was a absolute killer sample that I had, and I wish I had a bottle of it myself. Now we saved the best for last, right? You guys see this bottle down here? I know you do. This one right here, yep, that right there is the Pappy Van Winkle 15 year, and I just had this one a couple of weeks ago, and I'll tell you this, it is a delicious pour. But there shouldn't be the hype behind it, right? You guys are probably going to expect me to put it right here, right? Or put it down here. No. I think a very safe place for this bottle is here. Should I put it there? Right here? No. I'm going to put it in first place in A tier. It's not going in the S tier because I think that if you put this in a barrel proof, this would be absolutely like mind-blowing. But A tier, 107 proof, 15-year-old bottle of bourbon. You just can't go wrong with it. That is where the Pappy Van Winkle 15-year is going to lay its resting head. So there you guys have it. That is our tier list. We had 26 bottles. We had a lot of B tier. We had no F tier bottles. We had a couple of D and we had a couple of S. Let me know down in the comments on where you think your favorite bottles of bourbon from Buffalo Trace would have landed on this tier list. But until next time, this has been Nathan with the Everyday Drinker. Cheers.